Not to toot your own horn.
Not to pat my own back.
Stop it!
It burnt me like a baby.
I think that's the best thing about art.
So you're just happy all the time?
No.
It is.
The honesty of it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like, music, for me, is my biggest, like, connection with art. And I love the honesty. It's infectious. If you guys could just be real, I mean, I don't want to force it, but, like, that's what I'm looking for. And that's what I would want to watch as an interview. Or, like, as a video.
Well,
we'll try our best.
That's what we're going
for.
The
filter is coming off of Dallin for sure right now.
Love it. And that's
what's stripped down.
That's what's so cool about a video like this, is you would be able to know if people are being real and honest without ever having met them in the video. You can. It's just like it's just something you can feel.
That is true.
Isn't that odd? Fascinating to me.
I think it kind of makes sense. Is it recording?
Indeed, it is.
Check my teeth.
Wait, hold on. Very nice. Okay.
My name is Ellie Holt. I am from Ladera Ranch, California, and I am an illustrator and an art teacher and a youth ministry coordinator and a substitute teacher.
Very cool.
And a very sweaty individual right now.
This room is very hot.
I might take that shirt.
Do you want it?
Yeah, I kind of want the shirt.
All right, let's start with this. So, you, as you said, you kind of have a lot of jobs right now.
I do.
What do you want to do end goal wise? Because we've talked before, and you said that you were like showing less interest in being like a full-time illustrator. Last time we talked, so I was just wondering kind of where you're at with that.
Long-term goal, I have no clue still.
Okay.
But I'm at a place right now where I've kind of accepted that that's okay to not have a long-term goal. For me, just in life in general, not career, my long-term goal is I want to be a mom, and I would love to be a stay-at-home mom. So I look at the different jobs that I have right now, and I'm kind of like, I love all of them so much and kind of equally, which I never would have expected because all my life it's like been all about art, all about illustration. But now I have these other jobs that were unexpected, but I like them just as much as illustration. And so when I think about my long-term goal life-wise, which is being a mom and a stay-at-home mom, I'm kind of like, well, then why would I bother pursuing one of these full-time if at some point I'll dial it back to be a mom?
Through the things that you've experienced as a creative person, advice that you give to your younger self as far as like pursuing a creative career.
That's a good question. I have a thought. I'm just thinking of how to articulate it.
Take your time.
I don't know how to say it. Do exactly what you want to do. I don't know. I think a lot of artists get caught, me included in this, I think a lot of artists get caught up in trying to figure out what they want to do. But what you want to do is really instinctual.
Yeah.
I don't know what the right word is.
Intuitive.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the word. It's really intuitive, and we just have a tendency to overthink it.
Totally, yeah.
So, like you said, my style is really consistent. That's because at some point, probably within the past 3 years, I discovered what I like to do. Like just what feels good for me to do.
Totally.
What style comes naturally, and I just do that. And I don't think at all about whether or not people will like it or whether or not it'll work in the industry. I just think this is what comes naturally to me. This is what I like to do. These are the mediums that feel good and feel natural when I do them. And so, like, full send. That's what I'm rolling with.
All right, so one question that I wanted to ask you, it's kind of interesting talking to you because art isn't necessarily like your primary goal.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's just something I do.
I mean, I like that though, because like you're lax about it, but you do it in a very successful way, and like you do it in a way that like is serious. Like you take it seriously. Like it's something that like when you do it. Like you don't just like, oh, like I draw on the side of what I do. Like you are an artist and you do it seriously and you take it seriously and you take yourself seriously, which I have always respected about you.
Thanks.
But it's interesting because it's like a lot of the like Josh and Leslie and like a lot of the people that I'm planning on talking to about this project in particular like are like that's where they want to be. Like that's like
that is who they are.
Yeah, that's me. Like I'm gonna be an artist whether it kills me or not. Like I'm full.
I hope it doesn't kill you.
I'm full send into this.
Straight to the grave.
Yeah, for real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, luckily my parents haven't kicked me out and like put me on the streets because I'd still be trying.
Dang.
I love my parents. Shout out.
I still live with my parents too.
Shout out to them. Yeah. So this question is a little bit less relevant to you, but it's something that I've been thinking about having done the last 2 interviews.
Mm-hmm.
What, as a creative person in a creative field, like you are doing books and you are a working illustrator.
Yeah.
What is one of the biggest challenges that you personally have faced?
Myself.
Yeah, totally.
Sounds so deep.
I mean,
and it is.
It's very true though.
Yeah. I've never had much pressure from people outside of me for me to become a successful full-time illustrator. But when people ask me, like, oh, what do you do? Like strangers.
Yeah.
Someone I'm meeting for the first time. When they ask me, oh, like, what do you do? I feel like I can't say illustrator because I'm like, well, I'm not really like a career illustrator. So I'm like, am I really that? And so then I just like do my thing where I just make my little list of jobs. But I don't know. That's been something that's challenging in my career as an illustrator. Is just that it's not a career. Hold on, I'm having a sneeze coming up. What was your question? Cut. Ask it again. Let me smack you.
Okay.
As you.
You should smack him.
So, what is one of the obstacles that you've faced in being a creative person, a working creative?
The obstacles I face in being a working creative. The expectation that you're not a real working creative unless you are doing that full time and financially doing well.
For sure.
Yeah. Because I have had people ask me, like, you know, oh, like you're still doing, you know, your after school art program that you're. What does that mean, Dallin? Out of tape?
Tape ended.
Tape ended?
Sorry, that was like right in the middle of your...
It was. It's okay.
We're gonna have to do another take.
We can be a little bit robotic. It's fine if we do multiple takes.
We're all about being organic and being authentic and doing as many takes as it takes to do it.
Take 12. Here we go.
Okay, where are my tapes? Hopefully the third time I ask this question, it'll be a lot more smooth, but probably not.
Yeah.
So...
Most challenging thing about being a working creative, for me, is that I'm not a full-time working creative. Yeah. And there can be outside pressure, like, or an expectation that I'm moving in that direction of becoming a full-time working creative. Like, that's the goal. And all these other things that I'm doing right now are a distraction from reaching that goal. Which I understand from an outside perspective, just because I've always wanted to do something art-related. But then I started exploring the avenue of teaching, and now the avenue of working in youth ministry. And then substitute teaching, which is all subjects K through 8th. And it's like I care just as much about those at this point in my life as I do my illustration work.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, I don't want to say I like them more, but they have the person element to them.
Yeah, they're different.
Like, I'm working, like, yes, I make art for kids, but working with kids is so much more fulfilling.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not as relaxing as,
yes.
you know, or meditative as just working on artwork, but it's like a whole new level of fun and fulfillment.
Yeah.
And I'm not ready at this point in my life to give that up because I'm having so much fun with it. Sure. And I'm good at it.
Yeah,
and so I'm like, I think people think of me as like, oh, she's the artist. But for me, I'm like, that's something that I enjoy to do. I also love coordinating. Like, just, I've told you about my Excel sheet.
Yeah.
I love planning. I love organizing events. I love working with teenagers, and I'm good at working with teenagers. I love working with kids. I'm good at working with kids. I'm all of these things.
Yeah.
Not just an illustrator.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. My work is kind of fun because it reflects all of the different things that I am.
Totally.
Not just one.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Why then, since art is just a facet of who you are, it's not the entirety, why then is there some insecurity around that being not your full-time thing?
Because it's what I've...
It's what your identity, people have tied you to your identity? Or?
Yeah, it's kind of like when people introduce me to their friend, it's like, oh, this is Ellie, she's a really good artist. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, which, that's not a bad thing. Like, it's flattering when people, you know, think of me as a good artist. But I think there's, I don't know. I think it's just the fact that it's been a lifelong understanding within my own head where it's like, I know that I'm going to be an artist. That is what I'm going to be. Full time. Like, that's my job. And so for that to not be the case, I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's unexpected. And I think there's something about, like, I don't know. I don't really know how to explain why it's an insecurity. It just is. But yeah.
That's okay. I mean, I definitely relate because, I mean, as far as, like, what you mentioned before, as I think a lot of artists, full-time or not, have insecurity around is, like, just, you know, is being an artist. Like, in general, I think is an insecure thing because it's, I mean, you never really make consistent money as an artist unless you're, like, in, like, working for a company or, like, you're in, like, a very specific field working usually for somebody. Yeah. Which isn't the case for majority of artists, I would say. Yeah. And so, like, yeah, I've definitely made money on my work, and it's been super fulfilling and really cool, but, like, I can't say that I've done, like, I'm not at the point where I can live off of only my own work. Yeah. And, like, that's an insecurity of mine because, like, people ask you that all the time. And, like, our culture specifically is very, like, you know, and I think it's, I mean, I don't know, but, like, I personally, I don't know if this is fully true, but, like, as a guy, as a man, like, I feel like there's another added thing of, like, you're the provider. Like, 100%. Like, if you're not, like, making money to provide for yourself, then, like, how are you going to do that for family? Or how are you going to do that, you know, moving forward? And, like, that's something that I've come into time and time again and that I've had to overcome. Yeah. And so I definitely relate as far as, like, yeah, just, like, that being an insecurity in general, you know? And so, like, I almost feel like I'm interested in the way that you're insecure about. I'm not trying to, like, pick you apart or whatever, but, like, just the fact that, like, I would almost feel less insecure, I think, personally, if it was less of a big thing, like, my main source of income, because then, like, I am getting income in other ways, but, like, I don't have to make art, like, make money on art. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, because it's less of a portion of my life, I think I would be less secure about it.
If it's less of a portion of your life, you would be less secure about it.
Insecure, yeah.
You'd be less insecure.
Yes.
because a smaller portion of your life
Yes.
would be. I think I understand.
Because
the financial pressure is taken off of it.
a little bit, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I can see that. Time out.
He's on a burger.
All right, so at this point in the interview, I usually just throw the ball, the entire thing, the globe, into your arms and just be like,
I've got the whole world in my hands. What? What do you want me to do?
it's in your hands. You can do whatever you want. You can talk about whatever. You can ask me a question.
I was going to bite it.
You can eat the ball. Interesting.
What do you...
I don't know, like, so...
That is the most vague thing you've done.
Just... And I didn't do it that way before. So, like, when I interviewed Leslie, when I'm nervous, I say things wrong, I can't explain it.
When you did that in the video,
oh, it was awful.
Olivia and I had to pause, and we were like, did he pull her off the street? It's just like...
No, it was literally the only time I've ever said her name wrong, except for this very moment.
And it's on camera both times.
Yep. Sorry, Leslie, I love you.
It's Leslie.
It's not Leslie.
I know. Messing with ya.
I'm going to say it
Just
wrong in
joshing
every
around.
video now. And then she's
probably.
going to be like, you say it wrong all the time. And I'll be like, no, I swear I
You say
don't.
my name wrong all the time. Also, why are you talking about me
Leslie,
constantly?
I don't say your name wrong. So when I was interviewing Leslie, I basically just asked, I was like, okay, because we had been talking for a while, and I was like, well, like, is there anything that you want to say in regards to anything that we've said that, like, maybe I, like, was guiding it in a way that you couldn't input, or like, something that you thought about, or like, and or is there something that you want to ask me, or just something that, like, in relation to what we've been talking about in general, like a thought or a feeling or a topic or so it is very broad, but it's just like I want to make sure that, like, because the people I'm talking to are very intelligent people, like, and very wise and amazing and beautiful, and no, I'm just kidding. But you
Talking
are.
about you, Leslie.
You are.
Or Leslie? Leslie. With a Z.
But, like, you really all are, like, very amazing people that are very insightful and very intelligent. And that's part of the reason that, like, I enjoy having these conversations, because I feel like I'm progressing and that I also have something to help progress vice versa. So, like, I feel like we're sharpening each other in this conversation. And that's the part that is exciting, that it's like, oh my gosh, like, you understand, like, I get where you come from, like, I didn't even think about it that way. You know, like, those moments are, like, are fulfilling. Yeah. And so I want to make sure that I'm opening it up to be reciprocated, and that it's not just me, like, being, like, the Dallin show, you know what I mean? Like, because, like, there's a lot of... I don't
feel like you've been that way.
No, but, like, I think more so, like, I feel like me and you think, because we've been in each other's lives a long time, and we've been, you've been very, more so involved in, like, my creative process and my creative, like, journey. I've been involved a little bit in yours, but, like, I feel like we understand each other, I think, more than most people that I talk to about artwork, because we've just been friends for a long time and been talking about art for a long time. Whereas, like, with Leslie, like, she has a very different view and, like, different values than I do. And so, like, I felt like at one point, like, I was steering her because that's the way that I think. But then she was like, no, like, I actually think the complete opposite of that. And I was like, oh, okay. And so then I, like, wanted her just to kind of take over, because I, like felt like I was, just because that's the way I think, was directing her in a way that like, wasn't natural for her. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, long story short, is there anything that you want to say?
I have no idea.
Or, like...
I've got the ball. I have no idea.
Okay. That's fine, too. I just want to make sure.
I'm not very good at just coming up with things to say. I'm a big fan of specific, guided questions. You can guide me through every interview.
Will do.
I do not like freestyling.
All right, well...
I speak the way I create. I do not like freestyling. I like structure, control. The second you put the ball in my hands, I'm like, I don't know what to do with this.
What do you mean with, like, creative, though? Like, you have a schedule, but beyond that, like, how do you feel like you're...
Like,
Or is that what you're talking
what does
about?
my creativity look like?
Well, you said like you speak the way that you create.
Like, I converse the way I create. Or I guess this is
But how so?
in an interview setting.
You want it to be planned out.
Yes.
But
well, no, not necessarily planned out, but like, I don't know.
You want to be.
I like a little bit of structure.
Okay.
I don't know.
But how do you see that in your creative process beyond having a schedule?
Beyond having a schedule?
Or is the schedule what you're kind of considering?
I mean, like, there's like a rhythm to the way I create.
Like what?
Like, I go on my tablet, I do some sketches, then I do the final sketch, print it, transfer it onto my final paper, trace the sketch, then I do base colors in watercolor or marker, colored pencil detail on top, but like vague detail, just adding texture, and then I go in with like the final details, and it's like a rhythm. It's the same every time.
It's a template.
Yes, there's a very
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I don't really.
I can respect that because it's
Yeah.
also I think I don't have that as much, but when I do, I feel like it helps a lot because you don't have to think about all the rest of the stuff. You can just focus on creating.
Yes.
So you kind of.
And
cut
you
out
run
all
into
the-
less problems later on.
For sure.
Like, I don't know. Especially with watercolor. I use watercolor a lot. It's not forgiving if you do something early on and you're like, oh, I wasn't thinking when I did that.
You have to plan out watercolor.
Yeah.
For sure.
I like, before I do every stroke, I think to myself, like, what is the intention of this one? Like, what purpose is this going to serve? It sounds crazy robotic. It doesn't feel as robotic when I'm doing it.
No, I'm sure, yeah.
But
And I'm sure that there's a lot of intuition happening.
Yeah, it's like within each step, it's pretty free flowing, but I don't know. I like my steps, and I like for my brain to be engaged with understanding why I'm choosing to do whatever the heck I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's why all of my pieces look really similar in style because
you have that template that you work from. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree. And that's
then
kind
when
of
I stray away, I'm like, this is foreign territory. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But
which I think is where I want to head. And that's kind of what I was talking about with the paintings.
With the paintings.
Because like I usually work from image, and so I have it in a way, but I want to alter it to be a little bit more broad and specific in a way. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but like shifting it from like this is my process to like this is my process, and I can do more within this process.
Yeah.
But it's like more of a structured template in a way.
You have your base structure, your process, and then every once in a while you're like, let me tweak the way I finish it, or let me tweak the way I start it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is taking you years to come up with, and like
or it didn't take me years to come up with my template. It took me years to realize that that's what I gravitate toward doing, and to accept
and
that
not to
this
control
is the
that.
way.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, totally.
Yes, because I remember in college, we know how I felt about college. It was not good for me.
Yeah. I
had professors who would critique the way I did artwork, which is very methodical. And they would try and tell me like, you need to like loosen up, like just like put the paint on the canvas, like don't think about it. And I'm just like,
that's not how
I do not. I feel completely unrelaxed when I do things that way. I don't know.
No, it's funny because Ash is very similar.
That does not surprise me at all.
Yeah, and so like I remember trying to collaborate with him years ago. I think when we were in high school, and I was like, just start sketching it and just like start putting stuff on here, and we'll like make it into something the way that I've been wanting to do. And I was kind of coming up with stuff, but he was like, I can't do this. Like I think he like put maybe a line on. I don't even know if he did that, but he was just like no. Like he like couldn't bring himself to do it. And it's funny because it really is like an excavating of how you work, like how like discovering really what just works for you. Yeah. Which is really funny. Which I think I again have been a little bit too hands-on with, a little bit too controlling. Like I want to be more hands-off and like just discover that. You know?
Just let it happen.
Yeah.
I think of it. I work with kids, right? I substitute teach all grades, and so. Handwriting. I think of art like handwriting. When you're a child, You're just learning the basics. You're all learning how to write the letters exactly the same. Everyone's penmanship pretty much looks the same when you're in like kindergarten through 2nd grade. Then, for whatever reason, once you hit like 3rd grade and you start getting older, everyone's handwriting, same letters, but it all starts to look different. And you start to like recognize like, oh, I really like the way Michaela's handwriting looks, or like Julian has trash handwriting, right?
Yeah.
Because of course he does. I'm
Okay.
not thinking of any particular student.
No, not their real names at all.
Yeah, bleep out Julian's name. He's a real child. No, I'm kidding. But actually, Julian's isn't. Julian, you're good. You're good, buddy. But yeah, and it's like your handwriting. It flows out of you naturally. You've learned the basics of handwriting, and then you naturally develop the way you write, in particular, without thinking about developing your handwriting style. And the second you try to manipulate your handwriting style, like, oh, I really like the way Hannah writes her A's, I'm going to try writing my A's like that. Then you start to just focus on that, and then you get, like, worked up over trying to make your handwriting look just like Hannah's.
And it becomes not fun or easy.
And it becomes not fun.
Yeah.
It's not natural anymore. You're trying too hard when there was nothing wrong with your handwriting in the first place.
Yeah.
It's like, that's just your handwriting. There are things about my style that I do not like.
Interesting.
And there are things about other people's style where I'm like, I wish I drew like that. I probably could, but that's not me. That's not what happens when I sit in front of a piece of paper and I start drawing. I get what I get. I don't get what Hannah gets. Yeah. Shout out to all the Hannahs out there. I don't know why I chose that name. Does that make sense?
You know, it totally does.
Yeah.
I think that for me, this is interesting because like for me, like when I see somebody else's work that I really like, I copy it. I do it. I try to do it as close as I can, or I'll copy that exact piece. Like I obviously won't sell it or use it or whatever, but it's more just for me like exploring that.
Okay.
Like I'm not gonna straight up plagiarize or whatever, but like
yes.
I like.
It's a study.
It's a study. Like
Yeah.
I want to study it. I want to understand it. I want to see what elements of it I like, what elements I don't. Because there's always things I do and I don't like about somebody else's work. And so like what I want to do when I do those is like take the things that I do like and implement them into my own work.
Yeah.
And so I think that for me, like it's not completely hands off because it's like I get inspired by somebody else's and I'm like, okay, like
I want to adopt that.
I want to adopt that, yeah, and I want to make my A's look that way. But like you said, sometimes it does get to the point where it's like I'm overthinking that portion. Yeah. And so I think that there is a balance in a way, at least for me personally, of like looking external forces, but also just letting it flow naturally. And I think that where I'm at now, I want to focus more on where it comes out naturally than other people because I've looked to other people for so long that I want to just at this point like just do exactly what I'm going to do, like complete hands off, and it's easier said than done. And then at some point potentially add onto that, but I want to get that kind of core figured out. Yeah,
that's a good way of phrasing it. Figuring out the core and then adding things to it, embellishing, putting sparkles and rhinestones on the core,
bedazzling the shit out of that.
Draw like a kid.
Yeah, totally.
Kids just draw. They don't think about it.
Yeah, totally.
They just go for it.
Yeah, there's so much freedom in what they do. Like it looks,
and they don't care about how it turns out.
Oh yeah, it's a blast.
Yeah.
I want that freedom. There was something else that you said that I was like,
was it everything?
It was everything. I was just sitting there going, yeah, go girl. That's what it is. Yes. As far as like kind of letting it come naturally, like the creative process, your style, like all these things should come organically, should come intuitively. Yeah. But again, I've struggled with that. But I have found, and I mentioned briefly when I was talking to Leslie, that video has been fun because I have less of a precedence to it. And so like I don't think about it as much. Like I'm okay with like making mistakes. I'm okay with experimenting more. I'm okay with like not having a set style, not abiding to anything really in particular, and just like having fun with it, or like I'm thinking less about it. But because I'm doing that, I think I've already begun to develop a little bit of a style.
Yeah.
And like its early stages.
You think of it like you already have a video editing style.
Yeah.
You just have to
discover it.
Let it happen.
Yeah.
Not even discover it. It's like let it happen and then look in retrospect.
Totally.
At your body of work, and it's like, oh, I do have a style.
No, I totally, yeah.
Like, I didn't realize I had a style until recently.
Yeah.
Because I looked back at all of the work I did once I started just going for it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, suddenly I have a style.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I think that, you definitely have a style for sure.
It's pretty strong.
It's very
strong. Very Ellie-ish.
It's a very potent style.
And I don't like it all the time.
I understand that too.
I'm like, that's what comes out of me.
Yeah. And that's something you have to learn to accept.
Yeah.
And that's something that I was talking to Gabby the other day about, like...
I love Gabby.
Who doesn't?
Sorry.
About, creating just to create, and, because me and her, I think, both think a lot, almost overthink about, the message we're giving out to the world when we're creating.
You absolutely think about that too much.
Yeah. So it's and she was talking to me about that, and that's something that I have only recently kind of starting to overcome. Mm-hmm. And especially with my landscape paintings, because I didn't have a set plan or set message in mind as I was creating them, and it drove me nuts. It was literally I was I know I want to do this project. I really enjoy these images, and I know that I want to paint them.
Yeah. And
they're relevant, but I was holding myself up because I didn't have a core message to give to the world with my painting.
Right.
But in what I discovered was that it was just self-expression. It was just me expressing myself, and that in and of itself is a really beautiful thing. And it's something.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah,
I remember you telling me this a while ago. Back when you were first starting this house series, and you're like, but I don't know what this means. I don't know what any of these mean. By the end, you're not at the end of this series, because I don't think there's an end to it.
Yeah.
But the houses, the trucks, all of those paintings, that series has spoken to me the most.
Yeah.
And friends and family who came to visit us at the art show, they agree. Mm-hmm. Because there's something about it where it's just you can feel when someone does something and it's natural.
It's authentic.
It's effortless.
Yeah.
People can see when too much effort was put into something.
I completely agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so these paintings, the one behind the camera, the ones back here, they're nostalgic. They're familiar. I'm this is very normal, mundane things, but it's elevated because it's painted through your unique perspective, and it's completely natural, and it works.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Well,
you're welcome.
It's.
I mean it.
I know you do, and I mean it, because it's so funny that it's there's so many things that we think we have to do in art, and the less conscious you are, more often than not, the better.
Yes.
In art.
Yes.
And it's so
do you know how often people have told me that my work speaks to them, and I'm just why?
Yeah.
It just does.
Yeah.
It'll resonate with someone. Just don't think about, or don't think too hard about what is the message. Just let the message happen.
Yeah.
And what people get from it, they'll get from it, even if it's not what you intended for it to be. You don't want to manipulate their reaction. Oh, I want them to know that this is what they're supposed to get. And you're never going to be able to
do that completely.
No.
Ever.
No.
So people will always come to it with their own preconceived notions.
Yes.
And
100%.
It's so funny because I think that I knew this better as a kid. For sure.
Well, yeah. As a kid, you're not thinking.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that a lot of things, I consider everybody else's opinion too much, and then I was I want to direct that opinion, or I want to change that or whatever, and I wasn't just creating anymore.
Yeah.
And especially I think in college, because Otis is very conceptually based. Their fine art program is very conceptually based. You have like very intellectual fine art program.
Yeah.
And I can do that, and I know that I can do that successfully, but it's just not me. It's like you said, like it doesn't come naturally to me, and like sometimes it does, but more often than not, like I just like to create. And in school, it made me feel like that wasn't okay. That like just creating for the sake of self-expression.
Which makes me sad.
Totally, yeah, because like hundreds of thousands of kids are being told that exact same thing. It's like no, like.
And most of them probably feel the exact same way that you do.
Yeah.
And they're all just faking it.
Totally.
Like, I don't know.
We just have a bunch of frauds and
hate
phonies
the BS.
out there in the world. Yeah.
Cringe.
No, and that's
why I dropped out. Just kidding. That wasn't the reason.
I mean, yeah.
There were many reasons.
Yeah. That was the reason I almost
dropped out. Don't put that in.
Yeah.
You almost dropped out?
Yeah.
Did I know this?
Yeah, my first year of Otis, I was like ready to go. I looked into like I thought about dropping it, but I also looked into like transferring mostly.
Yeah, I remember that. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough.
It was rough. But
it was a rough time.
Yeah, and I think again it's interesting having kind of come to the truck paintings in particular at this moment in time when I'm like really considering Pando, because like Pando for me is almost like a way of it's a twofold thing.
Mm-hmm.
Pando for me is me trying to keep myself accountable of like I and others. Like I want us all to be authentic. I want us all to be our complete. I want us all to be ourselves completely as much as we can.
Yeah.
In every situation, especially through creating, because when it is authentic, it is like it's way more profound. It's way more meaningful for people.
Yeah.
And then the other thing to that, like practicing what I preach, beyond that, like Pando to me has been a collaborative effort, because I mean beyond just like sitting down with somebody and like interviewing them and having their opinion, you know, with my opinion and whatever, whether that flows or not or whatever, like that's a creative or a collaborative process. But then also like I've been working collaboratively with like Josh and Leslie and like the other like these artists literally, and the collaborative process for me is really fun and enjoyable, because I have to be more hands off. Like I have to let go of the control and be like, okay, like you have to be hands off when you're collaborating. Like you literally work for something and like you might have an end goal in sight and be like, this is what I want to do, but then you have to hand it over and relinquish complete control.
Yeah.
And like for me, I think I like initially was really hard for me, but the more I did it, the more I was like, this is liberating, because like I don't have to figure it out. Like I can just trust the other person and myself to figure it out along the way. And like I think that's what we should do always, and we just kind of don't.
Yeah. Or
at least I don't. But like that is like almost like a forceful way to make that happen in a way.
Yeah, it's good.
But yeah. Anyways, that was what I feel like that was a good conversation. I'm glad that we backtracked. Anyways, I'm glad that we had this conversation, and I was really looking forward to this from a lot of reasons, because I got to talk to you about video stuff and whatever. But I also just really enjoy talking to you specifically, because I always trust you to be honest and be like real with me, because like you've been blunt many times, and
Sorry.
No, I enjoy that. Like I really think that is such an invaluable thing, and that's why I come to you so often for like your opinion or for direction, because like you always keep it real with me, and I hope that I do the same for you, and that like beyond that, like I don't know, I trust your wisdom and your guidance. So thanks for being with me throughout all of this, and like sticking with it through all the things, ups and downs, and like lefts and rights, and everywhere I've been with Pando.
Had a lot of those.
And
roller coaster, baby.
And my own creative process and all the things, like you've always been like one of the most solid people in my life, and a guiding force, and like I know that I wouldn't be to where I'm at today without you, for sure.
That was really sweet. Is Is this real enough for you?
Yeah.
Is this authentic human connection? Or what's our slogan?
Yeah.
Real?
Real. It's interchangeable.
Yeah. Let's go eat.
Okay. I made you cry.
You did! Was that the